in-house at National Rail when I joined in June 2010.
Okay.
And in the initial term, we worked with a straight, flat network buy, while I built up the direct sales, which obviously the cream, the big digit CPMs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at the time in the UK market, programmatic trading was fledgling at best. And over time, the likes of AdMeld and Rubicon came on board. We worked with them to some degree, but we found that either their technology or their account management wasn't of sufficient standards. I'm a one-man sales team. I've got one ad ops manager, so we can't spend all our time looking after a partner who is ultimately providing the bread and butter revenue. The more cream, the less bread and butter. Good for me. So when Pubmatic approached me, they were in two positions. On the one hand, they were in a poor position because I'd already tried two of their competitors, and so wasn't necessarily well disposed towards the whole programmatic trading. But they were in a good position because they knew where your two competitors had let me down.
Right.
And so they felt that if they could get those things right, then I'd be happy. And that was the tenet. What I particularly liked about them was their approach, that they said, okay, we're a tech company, we're not an advertising company.
Right.
And they seemed to be the first people that actually listened to my requirements and what made our site different. And one of the fundamental things about my site being different is that ad revenue is not our number one KPI. Our number one KPI is the process of user inquiries, the delivery of the information to them, and then we hand them on to buy a ticket from a third-party reseller. Okay. So we're purely a conduit in that respect. And advertising, it's my number one KPI, but not the company's. I don't know if it's just a sort of an anecdotal stat, but there is a stat that you can actually buy every single impression in the UK for about 14p CPM.
Yeah.
It's probably about 20 cents. So to a certain extent, you can't necessarily just take one template and say, this works in the States, let's make it work in the UK, because if the scale doesn't work, the scale doesn't work. Having said that, there tends to be a 6-month sort of tail from what happens in the US. Obviously, programmatic trading being a perfect case in point. It was big in the States. The three main companies from over there came over here. They weren't necessarily occupying the three main positions. I think Rubicon is stronger in the US than it is in the UK. A lot of it does, boil down to teams and individuals and that kind of thing, and country managers. But what's important for me is to trying to identify trends. At the minute, everyone's talking about data, and is data going to be important? And everyone's talking about assimilating offline data with online data. And as a publisher, I don't have access to a lot of first-party data, so acquiring more third-party data is good for me. Obviously, that's big in the US with the likes of Exalate and Bluekai. Yeah. But again, you've got to be careful of just not talking about it because you can do it. You've got to do it because it's actually worth it. Right. And I think it's probably no surprise that the major personalities in the programmatic trading market in London are either US themselves or have spent time in the US, right. Whereas the majority of personalities in the traditional planning and buying agencies are very UK focused. Okay. Now they may well be resistant to change, they may well be sort of embrace that change, but I think the sort of commercial aggression is coming from US people bringing over US products, and it's not necessarily a question of deciding on a channel and picking the right partner. It's deciding on picking the right channel. Right. Do I put all my eggs in the behavioural targeting basket, or do I go down the data route? Yep. Because it's still only one of me. Yep. It's been great for me to fly the European and UK flagship, and it's also, be honest, flattering to get chosen as a Pubmatic partner alongside three huge US publishers. Yeah. And it's good to spot differences. The main difference really being in that the US my US counterparts on the panel had larger teams, were devoting a lot of resources, but then they could afford to because the numbers themselves are bigger. Yeah. But one level of consistency, which we all independently arrived at, was that it's still a people-driven business. And if someone tries to sell you a solution that, don't worry about this, it's fully automated, you don't have to do anything, I run a mile and they run a mile, because you need the right people to push the right buttons, and you need smart and people who know the market very well. And we've seen a lot of companies fall down because of that. So it doesn't matter which side of the pond you're on, it's still a people business.